today I wanted to talk about the difference between the NDIS and the DSP. Lots of people who I talk to think that they are the same. They are not. I benefit from my NDIS funding because I'm able to pay for supports I wouldn't be able to access otherwise. I don't get to spend any of my NDIS funding on anything that isn't specifically related to my disability. For instance, during my first plan meeting, I asked if I could use my funding to pay my electricity bill, and the lady said, no, not unless I can argue my bone disease is impacted severely by the temperature. I thought, well, I guess when I'm cold, I'm a bit stiffer than usual. And she was like, yes, but you would require a letter from an occupational therapist to advocate that you need some kind of special body temperature regulating machine, and then maybe they could pay a portion of my electricity bill. Which is not true at all, they would not do that. But I did get to pay my electricity and rent with my disability support pension on Monday, though. Anyway, because of the NDIS, I get access to weekly physiotherapy, which is the only proven thing that improves the symptoms of my disability. I've struggled with depression since I was very young, and always found it difficult to muster the enthusiasm to even try. The surgeries I've discussed in my previous complaints were intended to keep me out of a wheelchair, but I still struggle walking long distances. I used crutches for over 10 years, but when I was young, I walked independently. I actually started using these crutches because I broke my leg playing brandy. Be careful, kids, it's true. It's a long story, maybe I'll talk about it one day, but I don't want this to turn into trauma porn, and it's slowly becoming that. This is my short-term goal for the NDIS. I would like to build my capacity for walking unaided and manage my chronic pain. I tried to transition during my undergraduate and was able to access free physio appointments at the Mater Hospital. Except my physio was always different and was a student from a rotating university. I wasn't able to maintain this physio and my studies and live independently on youth allowance, and I didn't get far. And I remember crying as a kid, this baby physio, about how I didn't have the energy to study and look after myself and do physio. I was hesitant to join the NDIS, my reason being I didn't want to complete any more capacity assessments like the one Centrelink had conducted on me. I started transitioning from underarm crutches to a walking stick during the early COVID lockdowns. There was no one on the street, so I felt comfortable enough to try. I'm very insecure. I joined the NDIS because I kicked the punching bag in my self-imposed COVID rehab and accessed physio near my home with 5 free general health appointments regarding my injured ankle. That physio convinced me to join, and I'm very grateful to have done so, even though accessing the NDIS was a nightmare in of itself, which I will talk about one week too, I guess. Through the NDIS, I was able to develop an exercise plan that worked for me and develop a working relationship with my medical practitioner. This is really important. Having a long-term relationship with one's medical practitioner is not only useful in alleviating insecurity I might feel, it's imperative to charting progress and responding effectively to my needs and understanding my capacity. This is why the government contract doctors employed by Centrelink to assess us are next to meaningless. How could they possibly know? On Monday, I met my new physiotherapist in Melbourne. She earned her doctorate in spines, apparently, and was one of the scarce people that actually knew what I had. My disability is called spondylometaphyseal dysplasia Kozlowski type. Spondylo refers to the spine, metaphyseal refers to the growth plate, and dysplasia refers to abnormal growth. And Kozlowski, he was this doctor who in 1967 defined a class of dwarfs after himself. I mean, talk about small net syndrome. This new physio did this thing to my back, dude. I won't go into it, but let me assure you that your tax dollars are going to a great cause. I had this brief window where I barely heard at all. Sometimes, just what the doctor ordered is a woman 3 times your size to push on your spine. She's confident she can partially align my spine so it hurt less week by week, and I just think, what? That's great news. The 5 free physio appointments I might have been offered via public health. This is probably how long it's going to take us to develop a new working relationship and develop an exercise plan. It's simply not enough time, and I can't afford to pay for her otherwise. But it's so frustrating because I live in this legislative limbo where if I continue learning to walk, then if I'm successful, I'll lose access to the DSP. Like, seriously, I just want to live my silly little life here, but the legislation is by all extensive purposes disabling me. And I just think, help. What crime did I commit? I'm not going to be running marathons here, but I'd like to be as healthy as possible. Exercise intervention is the only proven thing to help with my condition. But because it's capacity building, Centrelink looks at it as something to be an argument that I shouldn't be on disability support pension. My disability doesn't go away. I'm just tempering the flame, basically. Monday is also the date Centrelink originally wanted me to begin their work for welfare program for sick and disabled people. This is definitely something kept under wraps, but if you are assessed as having 8 hours work capacity on the DSP, you are required to completely meet your work obligations, effectively forever. Look at this letter, dude. Like, it's addressed to Victoria, but it says I must attend in Queensland. There's a very long travel time. It is never ending with Centrelink. I would rather eat a bucket of sand than speak to one more employee about my capacity. They released me from this program because I was able to provide a letter from my psychologist to confirm we were actually seeing each other regarding my anxiety disorder, and also I uploaded this picture of medical evidence. So they say I don't have to do it anymore. It's voluntary for me now. They called me up and they're like, we've reviewed the medical evidence and we've decided that you don't have to attend. I highly encourage others to complain accordingly. You actually don't have to take this bullshit. I mean, it's nice for me, but it stings for the 40% of people on JobSeeker who are sick or disabled, struggling to keep up with their mutual work obligations. These are far more punitive. Imagine if you had to manage a chronic health problem and had to apply for 20 jobs a month. Don't these people deserve to be treated like humans too? No one is treated with dignity on JobSeeker. It's a national guaranteed poverty will persist. During COVID, this payment doubled to the figures of the DSP. It is possible to pay these people, but our Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, is choosing to punish them for financial gain. Let's be clear about this. It's pretty dystopian to me to think that all of these sick and disabled people are being forced to work for welfare. And they could be working towards improving their health. It's also silly, because I do want to work. I can't just sit around all day and writhe in pain. It's boring. But I want choice and control over that, like how the NDIS is set up to promote my independence and improve my quality of life. I get to self-advocate in terms of what I'd like to be doing. That's why I moved to Melbourne, to pursue my NDIS goal. I want to enroll in law school. Mr. Prime Minister, there is 93 weeks until your government will mandate I complete another job capacity assessment and review by a medical practitioner who I've never met and will never have heard of my spine grew weird old man-itis. Please amend to the Social Security Act so it is no longer unnecessarily punitive to Australia's most vulnerable communities. Regards, Dr. Sophie.